So welcome everybody. We have this is a family issue presentation series for our family diplomats. We have two family diplomats who are going to be presenting today. Mulba Isaac Flomo is from Liberia, just joining us now, who is going to be presenting on the impact of war and poverty on families in Liberia. And Juliana, who Arcanjo, I'm pronouncing that probably more like a Spaniard than a Brazilian, or it's not even as a Spaniard. But in any case, Juliana will be presenting to us about poverty in Brazil, um, and um, and then we're going to follow their presentation. So each of them is presenting for no more than 15 minutes. And between their presentations, we will have discussion of their presentation. So I encourage you guys, in fact, the whole point of this is to learn and to provide them feedback on their presentations. So we want feedback on not just their presentation, how they presented, but the content of what they said. So was it clear? And was it impactful? Because the purpose of this is not just to learn, but for our family diplomats to get better at presenting on the issues that are affecting their families and families in their communities and countries. So, Mulba is going to be first, as I mentioned. Mulba, I don't know if you can hear us. You can hear us? Okay. So Mulba is first, and then Juliana second. Um, and um, and then so just remember that it'll be Mulba, then discussion, then Juliana, then discussion. Any questions before we start? Okay, so please do write your comments and feedback, questions, et cetera, and so forth in the Zoom chat, and then we'll get to you. I'll basically call on you to elaborate and so on when we get to the actual live discussion. Joshua, glad you're joining with your son, and it looks like your wife as well. Good to see you guys joining from Uganda. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Mulba, and Mulba, you are set to whenever you're ready, you can start.
Okay, thank you. So just to begin, I want to know first whether I'm well audible.
Yes.
Please, can you confirm? Good, thank you. So again, I'm Moba Isaac Flumo, and I'm from Liberia. I'm currently in one of the Leeward counties in Liberia, called Bapolu. So straight to my story, I'm going to be telling you a story, particularly about war and poverty, the effect on my family particularly. So here comes the life of people, a particular group of people in the world, West Africa, Liberia, a country that fought and gained her independence in the year 1847, wherein there have been a lot of issues confronting people. But one of those prominent issues happened to be a situation that up to now we are even still struggling to recover from. A country that went through 14 years of civil unrest that we call war. We fought with guns. I'm saying we as Liberians. A child who never knew anything about war has been affected with a situation where he doesn't even understand what actually parental care is. Born onto traditional parents in Liberia, here comes Moba Isaac Flomo. Unfortunately, I was born into the heat of a civil unrest in Liberia. And at the age of 2, I lost my biological mother, not knowing about father either. Only in the year 2014, I started to have different pieces of information about my biological father. Some of you may not know what a war is or what the consequences of war is. But from then to now, I'm yet to hear about my mother, grew up by myself, self-sponsored. And I think this is a story that was shared in 2021 with Learning Lives. When I explained that I lived in a compound of a church as a result of the civil unrest that took away the life of my mother, not knowing about father. But as it is currently, with God's being above all, I currently rent in my own apartment. But when it comes to even understanding the background of my family is something I still struggle with. I started school very early, very late, I would say. Done almost everything for myself. I have just started working for my own money. I have just been able to pay my house rent as a result of the war I was fought in Liberia. Ups and downs, instability. Poverty has become a situation that a lot of Liberians continue to face, bearing the consequences. This is just a story that is unique, and I want to be particular to Moba Isaac Flomo. But a lot of us in Liberia have been affected by most of these situations, and it's something that continues to play on us. There are times I sit and I feel like I don't have any essence. There are times I sit and I'm confused where to even start from because there is no parental care. Even if you were to get to someone to ask them for support that you should be able to go to school, they are like thinking where you come from, considering a lot of factors. So we have been affected directly and indirectly. But as it is, I stand very strong with a lot of trainings that I've undergone through volunteerism to be able to stand and at least go around people who are into the civil society space until now that I'm currently into government, the local government to be particular, the local government of my county. But it will interest you to know though, although I'm being strong, but I'm still striving. One of the key things that carry me all along is actually by the grace of God. I would not want to bore you with too many. I come from a family of 8 children. But out of the 8, we are currently 5. And amongst the 5, everyone does everything all by themselves. We don't have a track record of our family, how our family started. That is the history of our family. Except if we get around people. And unfortunately, we are all scattered. We are all by ourselves. and like trying to get around people who could give us the exact story of what happened. But imagine if it were you living in an environment that you do not even understand what the environment is, not having support to even go to school, even to eat a day is something that you find very challenging. Everyone actually seeking greener pasture all by themselves. Well, I know, but it's not just unique to Mobile Isaac Filmo. It is a story that is actually affecting almost every Liberian who were born during the war, before the war, and somehow a year after the war. Liberia has lost track of the uniqueness of its history. No particular person can give you a kind of befitting information about Liberia currently, because almost all of the good people were killed. Their families were traced, especially the ones that worked in government. Quite recently, I happen to have benefited from knowing that one of my sisters is actually around where I live. But unfortunately, I can't easily get there because I do not even afford transportation to go there around. Except now that I have gotten the opportunity to work in government, the local government, of course, that I'm beginning to save some money after paying my rent, after buying some food materials, at least to be able to cater to my own health, that I'm thinking about tracing my family. All of what I'm telling you are things that I have gone through, things that people have also told me, but also things that I continue to suffer from on a daily basis. There are times I'm actually good in terms of health. There are times I'm not just okay. There are times I feel trauma, but yet life must go on. I actually want to have a pause. If there are any questions, I could be able to tell you, be able to respond to some of them. But just to call no matter short, war does not only affect an individual, it affects a generation. It affects a country economically, politically, educationally, like my story. War actually has a whole lot of negative consequences on the lives of persons, especially persons with disability. But I'm just being blessed to not have been born with disabilities. As it is, I don't know the actual story of my sisters, where they are, where we even came from is something that I just hear. But again, I feel threatened because my people were killed during the war, so I can't easily get back to any of those people around my village to be able to find out the actual story of Mobile Isaac Filmo. So I have to be smart, I have to be brave, and I have to be strategic. Imagine a person like me going through a lot of these challenges. What would it look like if there was a war today in your country? Think about the situation I'm currently undergoing. No parental care, self-supported, self-sponsored, and almost everything is just self. To a further extent, I had to live in a compound of a church. Except for now that I'm talking about renting my own place. It's a unique story. It's much more detailed. But I can't share certain of them with you because I may now hold on to my tears. Thank you.
Mulba, that was quite powerful. So thank you for that. Time for feedback. Would love for you guys to raise your hands electronically because that will indicate to me who wants to provide feedback. Please, if you could, raise your hands and let us know who wants to provide feedback first. Nusrat, joining us from Bangladesh.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. So I think it was really good, but I felt like it was heartbreaking because of listening his story, and it was obviously good. But if I also want to feedback honestly based on the presentation, then I would say just maybe he must needed to some added some exact ratio of the poverty and also the other issues that's related to the poverty. I guess that would be best. So except this, I think it was perfect.
Okay. So, what did you find most useful or the kind of the strength of his presentation, Nusrat?
I think it was about his emotion, the way he spoke, and his family story, as it's related to his family, and he suffered a lot, and I think it's very powerful.
Okay. And it sounds like that he needs to provide more details on the context of poverty in and war in Liberia.
Yeah, poverty in general, and also yeah, how it's going on. Is still was the situation, and also this, especially I would say like some ratio. I guess that would be best to understand better.
Great, great. Thanks, Nusrat. Anya.
Hey, so I went ahead and was typing stuff in the chat. So if you want to look at that at a later time, that's in there. But I think overall, I really like your tone. It's very conversational, welcoming, but also it incentivizes people to listen. Like you can tell that this is going to be a very intense story, but you're also leading us through the entire thing. I like when you say things like, look at a person like me, because then you kind of re-engage us in what you're saying and you make us want to pay attention. I agree with what Nusrat said about providing maybe some more details, maybe some more specific examples, because that would really drive your points home. But overall, I thought it was very interesting.
Great. Thanks, Anya. Begum from joining us from Turkey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mulba. I really liked your presentation. I think one of the strongest parts of your presentation was the deep and sincere expression of your teenage years and how you know worked hard, maybe struggled in some aspects to earn your own money and to pay your apartment's rent. So if I didn't understand you in an incorrect way, you said you started working at the age of 14, right? You are not 24 years old? 10 years ago, did you start making your money, Mulba? If I can ask this question.
It was in 2014 that I was informed that my father has just died. But prior to then, I didn't know about father. That is why I cited about 2014.
So you were 14 years old when you started working also.
Can you say that again, please?
How old were you when you lost your father and started working?
Oh, okay.
What was your age at that time, 10 years ago?
Oh, you're muted, Mulba. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Yes, I was actually 12 when I lost my biological father. But prior to that, I was already 2 when I started doing almost everything for myself. I started with the help of a sister who also passed off in 2015. Yes. But at age 2, I was already being self-sponsored, doing almost everything for myself with the help of certain individuals who came to aid me. Yes, but this is something I've been into from a smaller time though. Yeah.
So yes, this was really important, and it was a very touchy part of your presentation. Thank you so much. I enjoyed your personal journey, and I think it's really important, you know, when life is hard, but you try to go on, and I think you succeeded. It's in a very good way. Thanks.
Thanks, Begum. Hassan, who is from Saudi Arabia, but joining us from the United States. Go ahead, Hassan.
Yeah, so first of all, I really feel sorry for what's happening in Liberia. I guess I can speak on behalf of everyone here. We really pray that things come down. So I really like the personal connection that you made between your personal story and the overall what's happening in terms of events. I guess that's a powerful perspective of your personal story because your words are coming out of pain, and I guess the fact that you lived these incidents and you're still living what is taking place in your area right now is really a strong component of your overall story. So again, I really pray that things be better in the future, in the near future, and I wish you luck.
Would love to hear from others among you who haven't spoken yet, but heard Mulba's story. So Jesse, Juliana, Suzanne, you've been making comments or noting things in the Zoom chat. Let me just see here. Joshua and Maria, you guys are not on we don't see your videos, but would much appreciate you chiming in your thoughts. Suzanne.
I may repeat a little bit, but just in case, Moonba, you can't read or you're not reading the chat. First of all, I'll reiterate what everybody said. Very powerful. I do a fair amount of public speaking and a study because I'm a courtroom lawyer. And one of the things that I know is very hard to do is to slow down your speech. And your pace was really good. And even though at first to you, it may feel slow, and even to the listener, it was like this, it really helps make it more powerful. So hats off to you for pulling that off, because I know one of the things I struggle with is speaking too fast in public. And that really contributed to the powerfulness of your presentation. So, but yeah, I agree with a lot of the comments. You talk about the struggle, personalizing it even more with little examples, little anecdotes. And I know you're trying to keep to a certain amount of time, and that's hard to do. But for example, describing the room where you were in the church, and that you said it was a closet, I think you said, in the church where you grew up. Say, you know, the size, what you had in there, the things that you kept in there, that would even quickly saying, all I had was a pillow and a blanket, or whatever it is, just to really illuminate for people what that was like for a young child. And then your first job and how old you were and what it was. Because if you were working at such a young age, you know, I've been in various countries in Africa and have seen children working. And I know some of that work is harder than most adults in the United States could ever do. And so whatever it was that you did, if you could describe that job briefly, I think it would add, again, some more color to your story. So, but you know, it's already extremely powerful, and this would just add flavor to it. So thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it.
So can I briefly address? There's a question actually about my opinion about the crisis in Liberia. Can I address that, Paul?
Sure, you can by all means provide you know, answer any questions or comments that people made. Go ahead.
So thank you. Again, I was trying as much as possible to be brief, because I wanted to have had a lot of questions which would drive me to what you actually want to hear. I just wanted to do an intro. But then somebody asked, for example, about my situation in the church. I think for some of you that were available by then, you saw a photo, you saw the video of the church I was in. I am not at the church currently, so I could not vividly present the image of the church, because yeah, already been spoken of. But just so you know, I left the church for so many reasons, but for two major reasons. One of those reasons was because the church overflowed. We have a situation in the nation's capital, which is Monrovia, wherein a flood usually take place, especially during the season, the rainy season. We are currently in the rainy season. And so there will be flooding almost everywhere. And then I have been managing in that church. The flow is very low. The foundation isn't that high. So water often penetrated. So I had to sometimes take my things and put them in the ceiling of the church while I find place down to be able to sleep. And it was oftentimes not really good for me. Even there are situations that I felt very ill. So I could not just continue living in the church. One of the reasons also was because I was in the church doing almost everything for the church. In fact, I was the technical director for the church, just so you know. But I did not have any kind of personal assistance or assistance even towards my feeding. And I had to eat almost every day. Sometimes I went, the whole day without eating. I'll have to go around some other church members to be able to beg them for food to eat. So those were all the situations. And they all contributed to me actually finding time and the opportunity to come back home in the county where my parents were, especially my mother, to be able to work. Just so you know, I was at a more younger age when I started to work, but voluntarily without salary, that is to say. The compensation wasn't fixed as well. There were times I'll get like $5 USD, sometimes I'll get like 500 Liberian dollars, which could not actually meet up to my earnings. They could not actually afford to help me aid my livelihood or to sustain my livelihood. So those are all the reasons, around a particular issue of the church. But then you ask about my opinion. You ask about my opinion around the crisis in my country in terms of the solution. I'll tell you for sure. One of the reasons why we had the crisis in Liberia, especially the war, the 14 years of civil unrest, there was even a time that we had a particular time that we fought for rice. As you may be aware, rice is our staple food in Liberia. There was a time that we fought for rice and the whole government was overthrown. So, and then most times, if you are not in the capacity to find these solutions, you just want to be able to talk about the solutions. Government see you as an anti. So what I've been able to do as part of the solution to that particular problem is to begin, especially now, right, is to begin a non-governmental organization that will focus on empowering people, particularly local farmers, but then women, young women, especially people who dropped out of high school, and a lot of men as well, right? Men who are self-supported, like me, double often to say. But one of the reasons also I have been supporting this is because of what I have gone through, but also because of what led to the war. So of course, it is about time that even the international community support the agriculture. That is one of the richest areas in Liberia. We have a very fertile soil, but we do not have the financial means of even tilling the soil to be able to make farms that will sustain most of us. Sometimes we try to do it, but even farms to market is another thing. So of course, engaging the agricultural sector will also mean you have to be able to improve the rural condition of those rural counties. There are other counties that make farms very largely, but they cannot be able to bring those produce from their farms to the market. So again, people that are in the city or in the urban areas of Liberia find it difficult to be able to even meet up to their enemies. Sometimes you may have the money, but the money cannot adequately provide what you need. So yes, of course, this is about time that Liberia, especially our government, and as part of my role in the local government, because I work with the county development officer currently. So I am soon to start making a fixed salary, but I don't know yet because there's an arm responsible for employing government workers. And I'm still going through the process. I've submitted all of my documents, but I have not received my employment letter. So I cannot easily tell you what my salary will look like. But as part of my role in that office is to be able to advise the county development officer for Bapolu, where I am, to be able to improve or to work on a lot of policies, but also hands-on initiatives that will augment the life of persons in the county, whether disability, people of all backgrounds, once you are from this county. So yes, of course, my role is going to be talking about motivating or talking to the county development officer, how he could sponsor bills or how he could sponsor I say projects or initiatives that will enhance the livelihood of people in the county. Because like we had the experience before where people went into war, even overthrew the government by then for rice. If we cannot invest in the agricultural sector now, it's going to be more challenging. But also I was strong, and I can say that I'm strong, that I have been able to support myself, but there are others who cannot support themselves. So there's a need to be able to engage into employment for young people, although there are age limits, but we are all going to work on, especially in terms of doing the policy, working on the policy document to ensuring that certain people do not also feel being abused by the labor offices in the county.
Okay.
So I'll just be brief with that. Say thank you for the opportunity. Paul?
Yeah. Mudba, we need to transition to Juliana, and I want to make some final comments to kind of wrap that up. But Chia first, who is from Cameroon, just for those of you who don't know him, from Cameroon, but lives in the United Arab Emirates, and is a refugee from a conflict in Cameroon between the English and French-speaking portions of the country. Chia, go ahead. Yeah, you're still muted, Gia.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul, for giving me the opportunity. So my name is Chia Terence. I'm presently in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates from Cameroon. As rightly Paul have said, I'm here like a refugee from Cameroon. So I really appreciate your presentation, Mulba. It was so romantic, and it's really drive me, like I feel so bad because I have a similar situation with my family back home there. And very, so I just want to ask you this question. At that tender age, you were really, what kind of job you were doing at that age when you were small, like trying to feed yourself, trying to cater for your education and all that. What kind of job were you doing at that time?
And Mulba, if you can answer briefly, just briefly.
Okay, so one of the areas that I really worked, that helped me a lot was actually going with people on the farms, to be able to either help them to brush wherever portion of the land that they have, and then in return, get food or some little amount of money to cater to my school, to cater to my livelihood. But basically, those were the initiatives. But I also tried, of recent, I uploaded a photo on Facebook. If you're a friend of mine, you go and see it. You can also follow me on Facebook. You're going to see it. I learned how to climb the palm tree, right? The oil palm. I was able to harvest oil palm for sale to be able to help myself as well. It was not a job that I was being paid for. That is true documentation, no, but it was actually from the interior setting. But another thing that I did was to also be able to set trap. Whenever I caught meat, I'll like take the meat out, give it to whoever that I did it for, and then they'll be able to pay me, in return. So those are all the things that I did. until 2019, where I started to engage mostly into the formal sector that is going to like do any kind of office voluntary work that will be able to just empower my capacity or build my capacity, in other words, to be able to work like where I am currently, at least have an understanding about Microsoft Word, have an understanding about just digital literacy. So yes, I just started to do them to be able to like help myself, at least have an understanding about how the word works and in terms of how I could be able to like even come back. Yeah, so briefly, those are the things that I did.
Okay. Thanks, Mulba. I hope you stick with us while Juliana likewise is presenting. It's important for you to not only present, but also to share your thoughts on Juliana's presentation upcoming about poverty in Brazil. But I just want to give you some kind of overall feedback myself to your presentation. It's going to echo what other people have said. The purpose here, of course, is to learn about your situations and how major issues impacting families like war and poverty are impacting you and your family. And I think I want to echo that you have a lot of leadership potential and charisma in the way in which you present. And it's not simply that you slow down when you speak, it's also that you take pauses in between the statements you make. So keeping in mind those particular things that you do well, and using them deliberately, slowing down your speech, pausing, et cetera, and so forth, adds to the power of your delivery. The thing I think you need to work on most is to craft your story, write it down and develop it in writing, and then come to memorize it in some way, so that you can tell that story over and over to different people and to different audiences. And I say this because it's a compelling story. Ever since I've come to know you, I know that you have, I've learned that you have tremendous potential to be an advocate. And I think the local government in your community understands that and sees that too, obviously, because they're interested in taking you on as an employee. And so you have tremendous potential, but it has to be you have to craft that story so that you're giving the details and the necessary details about your family story, and not there are so many details that you could gather and put into a story. And so the idea is to select the stuff that's most important, that provides not just the details about your family, but about the broader context of civil war and poverty in Liberia, right? So that's what I encourage you to do. We're continuing to develop you guys as family diplomats in your abilities to storytell, your ability to present. But yeah, I just want to convey once again that you've got tremendous potential and you just need to develop that and develop your story. Um, so thanks, Mulba, for a really powerful presentation. Okay, so we're going to switch over to Juliana, who's joining us from Brazil, and is going to be talking with us about poverty in Brazil, based upon, as I understand it, some research that she herself has done on the ground in Brazil. So Juliana, go ahead, and you've got 15 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me? Everyone, is here okay? I'm gonna share my screen. I did
Oh, and
basic.
before you do that, I'm sorry, Juliana, I need to take a photo of everybody before some people may scatter and so on. If you could turn on your cameras, please, guys. And on three, I'm going to take a photo. If you could smile and make sure that your faces are turned towards brightness. 1, 2, 3, smile. And let me take another photo just in case that one did not come out. On 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. Fantastic, guys. Thank you. Go ahead, Juliana.
So can you see
Yep.
the sharing?
Yep.
So as Paul mentioned, I'm going to talk about poverty here in Brazil. I decided to do a mix of knowledge, information, and my personal experience here in my state, my region. So a little introduction, I'm gonna bring a definition, the poverty types, causes, consequences, and effects. So as we know, global poverty is one of the most pressing problems that the entire world faces today. There is no single definition of poverty. It's a complex, if you can say, a complex issue that can be defined in many ways, and it can vary across the time, across place, and society. So we can define, for example, not have access, enough access, enough money to enjoy a decent standard of life. So it's the lack of access to proper nutrition, clean water, food, health service, and basic sanitation. More than 700 million people still live in extreme poverty, which means they are surviving on less than $1.90 a day. So about the types, the UN Development Programme's definition of poverty recognize that poverty cannot be measured only by income. For example, based on how people got into poverty, there are 5 types of poverty: absolute, relative, situational, generational, urban, and rural. So a little definition of each one. We have here absolute is when one is severely deprived of basic human needs, for example, food, safe drinking water, health, shelter, education, and also information. We have relative poverty, which is a condition which a person's income is insufficient to meet his or her needs. Situational poverty is caused by a sudden crisis or loss and is often temporary. It could be anything from a natural disaster to a divorce, for example, or a loss of job, or severe health problems. We have to generation poverty, which is a result of being born into poverty or someone have experienced poverty for 2 or more generations. So these families are also met with other forms of poverty that make it difficult to break the poverty cycle. And the last one, urban and rural poverty. This one is when I'm gonna talk at the end of my presentation. It's those living in urban domains have a different experience of poverty compared to those living in rural areas. So they are generally faced with poor quality, overcrowded housing, lack of safe water supply, poor sanitation, and are much more susceptible to urban social ills. So typical lifestyles include farming and fishing, for example. And here are some causes of poverty in general and someone specific: unemployment, social exclusion, conflict and instability, lack of education, lack of access to job and livelihood, lack of government support. Some consequence, hunger, malnutrition, basic sanitation, growth of population in street situation, appearance of disease caused by lack of adequate food. So they are linked, the causes and consequence, one reflect another. The main effects of poverty, and I choose to focus on health and education. So in health, children born to parents living in poverty are more likely to below birth weight and less likely to survive the first year of life. So they are also more likely to suffer from asthma and other childhood disease. Children in poverty are more likely to have poor mental health and are at higher risk of psychological distress. And in education, affects education, like children growing up in poverty on average do less well in education. Gaps open up very early, even before child starts school, and persist and even wide after that. So children living in poverty also have a strong association with poor social relationship and lower academic achievements. So it perdures his entire life. And here are perspectives from Sustainable Development Goals. Improve the lives of poorest and most vulnerable is overarching theme of Sustainable Development Goals, and the primary focus on Goal 1, which is no poverty, and poverty in all its forms everywhere. So still nearly half of the world's population lives in poverty, and lack of food and clean water is killing thousands every single day. And here we have 8 effective solutions to poverty. Educate children, provide clean water, ensure basic health care, empower a girl or woman, improve childhood nutrition, support environment programs, reach children in conflict, and prevent child marriage. So this 8 is from the Sustainable Development Goals. And here, to finish this first part, impacts on family. We have children and family live in poverty, often attend under-resourced, overcrowded school that lacks educational opportunities, books, supplies, and appropriate technology. So in addition, families living below the poverty line often live in a school district without adequate equal learning experience. So as we can see, the life in poverty has so many negative impacts on entire families. According to the family stress model, poverty can contribute to parental relationships conflicts, stress, and parental depression, which plays a critical role in family dynamics and can lead to negative outcomes. And now a little about poverty in Brazil. Here's a photo from my region, the poorest region of my state. It's a view of them. So here you have these 3 infos. The blue here is the total population. The blue one is from Northeast. This dark green is from Southeast. This light green is from South. Yellow here is Central West. And the light blue, 8.7, is from North. The second one is from extreme poverty. The blue one, as we saw, still is the first, like 53.2% of population lives in extreme poverty. And in second comes Southeast, like 29.5%. And poverty, not extremity, only poverty. The blue one, the Northeast, is still the first one with a total of 44.8% of population living in poverty. Continue. Poverty by region. First, I wanna show this here. We have here the Brazil map. The green one is the red one is from Northeast. Northeast has 7 states, as we call here. Bahia is my state. And this part, red, is the focus of the poor people, the main part of the Northeast that is most need situation. Continue, we have the reduction of poverty has not been accompanied by change. So there has been a little change at the regional level. So North and Northeast regions still demonstrate the highest rates of poverty, and unequal distribution of land and income, poor soils, and severe drought have contributed to vicious cycle of poverty in Northeast of Brazil. The context of economic hardships, half of Northeast territory is semi-arid, which is very dry weather, we call semi-arid, and is characterized by this description, poor soils, water scarcity, and a high index of water evaporation. So in semi-arido, as we call here, the weather also interferes in the context of poverty.
Juliana,
So,
just so you know, you've got about 2.5 minutes left.
really? Oh my God, let me skip
Yes.
some. Just quick, in 2023, Brazilian federal government created Bolsa Família, is the most known program here. Make additional cash transfer program, which is rapidly become the country flagship anti-poverty. It helps a lot of people until today. And let me skip. So to finish, this is the social project I'm a part of, called SOS Sertão. It's like SOS Backland. So it started on 2012 with small people, few resources. We are all volunteers and works with donations of church and some partner institutions. We do monthly trips and dures less 1 week. Here we have some photos of semi-arido itself. So as I said, the weather interferes in the context of poverty. Like the 3 kids, some kids walk like a kilometer to take water. The animals is also in need food in general, like the people. And here it's me in Jabaquara, a little city here in Bahia, in 2017. I used to measure blood pressure and glycemia here I give the foods, and the services we offered is blood pressure measurement, glucose, haircut, skin cleansing, hygiene kits, some culinary services, and children's activities. So basically, is in each trip, we do this service to poor people, needy people. And I finished.
All right. Okay. You can go ahead and stop sharing. And let's turn to comments here. Hold on a second. Thoughts, if you could, same thing here. Raise your hands electronically if you'd like to provide feedback. I expect our interns, all of you each should be providing feedback on the presentations, but also our family diplomats here, you should be providing feedback on the presentations. So please raise your hands electronically. Jesse.
Thank you for presenting. You did really well. I loved all the work that you're doing. I think it's really great. I love how you provided a lot of context on the term of poverty, but I think if you're looking to maybe cut some time out, maybe you could provide a little less and then focus more on the story of the actual part of Brazil. But still, it was really amazing. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. Gia.
Yes, thank you so much for your presentation. I love it. It was really good. And I feel like you just need to summarize it more because it was really, really more for you to cover the 15 minutes. Also, you mentioned about your province, and how you show us your province at the first mention of your province, but you should have shown us the real photos, not so we can see your province also. It's always important. And also, like this humanitarian, you guys, you said you have been part of it for some time. You don't provide people with basic food. I think you didn't mention about maybe food. You mentioned about activities like blood tests and this. So just want to know if you guys provide food or not.
Juliana?
No, we do. How the project works, like for example, every Saturday we divide some small groups and go to supermarkets to ask. We talk about the project, the activities we do, and we collect food. We collect many things, all the resources, food, clothes, from bruised teeth, all resources we asked. We collect from supermarket, some institutions, and church. So we collect, go on a trip by month. 1 month we go to a village, in another one, another village. So monthly we deliver all the resources we got for that people, and keep working. It's still now like 12 years.
Nice.
We also, provide water because, as I said, the few water that they have access. Some families has to walk like 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers to take a little amount of water, and we bring them, like we call here caminhão pipa. It's like a huge truck with water and put on the like a big hole.
A place where you place water in a well in the ground.
Yes, this. Yes.
Wow. Okay. And Juliana, just also to clarify, did you say that you guys spend a whole week every month helping these communities?
Yes, yes.
That's a lot of time. That's amazing.
In the beginning of the project, the trip only like 3 days, but keep growing. And now we are, for example, 300, 350 people. Not monthly, everybody goes, but in general, the total is like 350 people. I have to stop the frequency because of my college and my job, but I keep going like once or twice in a year.
Wow. It's amazing. Begum.
Thank you, Juliana. I really liked your presentation. I think one of the powerful parts of your talk was that you combined very successfully the scientific part with your personal story. So the data, the graphics, and the scientific and academic information you gathered and used. Well, it was very good, but also in addition to these, you also added your personal charity events, and it's an inspiring story. I congratulate you and all the other members in this cause. As Paul mentioned, it takes like 1 week out of 4 weeks, so it's really good. So that's all I can say. I liked your presentation, and your story is powerful because it is a compelling story, having both personal and also subjective and objective insights, personal and academic. So this makes your presentation stronger. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Begum. Hassan, and keep in mind, would love to hear from others among you, Maria, Paula, Walt. We haven't heard from you guys, Elena, and Fatima, and my mother, if she if she cares to share, who's likewise joined us. Hassan, go ahead.
Yeah, so Juliana, I just want to thank you for the great presentation. I like the way you format the slides. I also liked how you like you showed your work, but also you showed the causes and like the definition that the UN has made. So to be honest, all the pieces of the puzzle are there, and I really wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hassan. Paula.
I
Just for some background, Paula is likewise an intern with us, joining us from Washington, D.C. in the United States, but her family comes from Cameroon.
Hi, I just wanted to say that your presentation was really good. I love the way that you told the story. I would just say that I loved how in the presentation it wasn't a lot of information that was like on the slides. It was just enough. So that way we could read and go along with the story that you were presenting. I think that just for next time when it comes to academic sources and connecting your personal stories and the things that you are doing, I try to do like 5, if that makes sense, to 5 bullet points within the story to connect to 5 academic sources or more. So I kind of do it in increments of 5. So for me, as someone who likes to talk and I put a lot of information out, that usually helps me. So I was thinking that that could also help you. So thank you so much for your presentation. It was wonderful. You did a great job of giving us the information and conveying your story. So thank you.
Thanks, Paula. And if I understand you correctly, Paula, you're saying she should limit herself to 5 academic sources or have a minimum of 5?
I was saying a minimum of 5 and then go from there. So do it in increments of 5. So once you have that 5 stats, and then you connect it to your personal story, and if you feel like you need more, then just keep doing 5 each, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for your tip.
Gotcha. Walt, Elena, I'm trying to see Maria, Fatima, would love to hear from you guys, or Anna, my mother, if you guys want to chime in before we finish. Go ahead, Maria. Maria, just so just for some context, while she's turning off, she's unmuting herself, is from Uganda, and but is joining us from the United States. It's trying to find here. I'll see if I can help you find the unmute button. That should help. Does it show you? Okay. Oh, that's interesting because you're unmuted, but we can't hear you for some reason. Okay, so while you're trying to figure that out, Mulba.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Juliana. I think you did extremely well, especially with providing data. But I was also wanting to see more of how your data correlate to the realities. I think your presentation was much more about a survey rather than actually narrating a story of how the situations are like with regards to poverty, in Brazil. But yeah, on the overall, I can say thank you because you provide a lot of data. But I was just like concerned how could your data, be presented more of in a story form rather than just giving notes or bullet points, to presentation. Yeah, so far that's what I saw, and I wanted to just talk about it. Thank you, Juliana.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks, Mulba. Maria, do you want to try again?
I think, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Sometimes technology is not the best. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Juliana, I loved your presentation. I love the extent that you took to do your research and the fact that it's paired with your personal experience and the work that you're doing is very impressive. I love the studies and everything is backed by the research and actual data that you have, which is very helpful. I would have, as I was listening, I kept waiting for the part where you bring in more of your personal story. I could see that personal story, but I would have wanted to hear more and all these things that you're doing for all these people. You could list out that one person and an impact or something, a tangible person and a tangible impact and something that we could relate with, a human presence. The data is great, the numbers are good, but also just having that something that we will relate to emotionally and yeah, so I don't know if it makes sense, but just more of the personal touch. Thank you, but you did a great job. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thanks, Maria. Anybody else? Okay. Mulba, you had your hands raised again, and Fatima?
Yeah, thank you. So lastly, I think you provided more of most of the information at the initial start at the start of your presentation, and then later on you started to like go a bit detailed, especially talking about the in-person catching, parts of the story. So I think it is something that you needed to work on, especially with the timing. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I think Fatima, did you, who's joining us from Pakistan, did you want to say something? You had your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about it. The presentation was so good, like I found it informative, plus the graphs and the pictorial description was so good, easy to understand the scenario and the problem over there. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for providing this platform where we get so much information and struggle and hardships of our fellows and about their resilience and survival stories. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Fatima, thanks for your comment. It is important, and it is valuable to hear your perspectives from your different vantage points in the world. Just to wrap things up here, Juliana, I think what's interesting is in some sense yours and Mulba's stories were almost like a study in contrasts, right? He did not present slides and did not so much provide the context and the facts and so on, but had a personal story. And in your case, you had the slides, you had the poverty information, but could have used a story, some kind of storyline. And as a number of people have pointed out here, as Jesse pointed out, cutting down on the amount of information that you provide, and coming up with some sort of a story. It can be, you can briefly talk about why you are engaged in this. Why is it you're personally connected to this and you got involved in this? But also, I think what would be helpful is focusing on a particular family that you have had more of a relationship with, and focusing on that family and its the challenges that they face, and the ways in which that you are working to address those challenges, but then the lessons that that particular family situation tells us about poverty more generally in Brazil, or perhaps even in the world, would be even more effective, right? Because then you're giving us not just context with information about poverty, but also a particular story that we can grab onto and understand of a particular family. So telling us about the composition of the family, the particular interactions you've had with them, the particular problems that they face. You had photos, and that's good. And I think what Chia was pointing out was, you might have been a little confused. The first photo you showed was actually a digital photo. It wasn't a real photo of a situation that you had taken. More photos would be great, and photos of, say, a particular family, and then the particular struggles, say, of the mom. I noticed that there was a mother sitting down in one of the photos, and it would have been great to maybe focus on her as the mother in a family, and the kind of struggles that she faces, how she responds to that, what she's done to respond to that. That would make your story even more powerful. So,
Okay.
Juliana, yeah, do you want to comment?
Sorry. So after all these comments about, I have to say that I understand a little wrong about this presentation, because last year we focused like officially storytelling. So I did in another format. I guess I understand wrong about this one today, and bring in this format of presentation. But if it's possible, at the end, if there's a spot, I can bring more specific focus on the project, and bring also some videos and that's it. I have to say, because I understand wrong about the format today.
Yeah.
And I think this way to mix information and about the time, I understand. And okay, I thank for the opportunity.
Yeah. And Juliana, I think we all want to emphasize that you presented a lot of good information. And I don't think you fully you did not understand, because we were trying to get you guys to provide some context, provide some information in ways that the storytelling previously was more storytelling focused, right? This year it's more issue presentations and so on. So you did that. You talked about poverty, and you talked about poverty in Brazil. So from that perspective, it was great. I think the challenge is to combine the information with the storytelling in a way that grabs people. And I think that's the case for all of you guys. So I think you did well. And I want to emphasize that what other people we've all been pointed out, which is it's awesome that you're doing this work. And you've been going for up to a week at a time to help people, and you're doing this as a volunteer. Really awesome. And learning more about that, right, would be great. Um,
Okay.
so thanks to you guys, Mulba from Liberia, Juliana from Brazil, for your presentations. We are going to be continuing this next October 13th is the next time. And just to give you guys a sense, I will be sending you notice of this in advance. But on October 13th, we have Nusrat, who's with us now, is going to be presenting on climate change in Bangladesh and its impacts on families. Chia is going to be presenting on war and its impacts in Cameroon and on families there, who's likewise with us now. I believe that Joshua from Uganda is going to be presenting on poverty in Uganda at that time. And then on November 10th, Fatima is presenting on gender-based violence in Pakistan. Eric on poverty in Burundi. And Jules likewise is going to be talking about, he's talking about climate change in Burundi. So 2 presentations on Burundi, but one on climate change, one on poverty on November 10th. I hope you guys have learned some stuff. The purpose of this is for us to learn, not just to hear presentations and for people to practice their presentations, but to actually learn. And we'll be doing a post survey for those of you who filled it out. So I know a number of you filled out the pre-survey, and we'll be doing a post survey to find out what you learned from these presentations at the end after November 10th. So you'll have a week to fill it out between November 10th and November 17th. And that's not for the interns. You guys don't have to do that, but for our family diplomats. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and see you in a month, and see you in between that time. See you on Facebook. We'll be chatting. Great to see you, and we'll be sharing photos and video of this meeting soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.